It was 2:19 p.m. I remember that because I had just adjusted the minute hand on the kitchen wall clock. It always ran a little fast, and she said it stressed her out. So I fixed it. Then, as I sat down with a reheated plate of leftover pasta, not hers, just mine, she looked up from her phone and said, "You don't deserve my affection." No build-up. No argument. No reason. Just that. I didn't drop my fork. That would have been too cinematic. I just stared at it. At the curved edge of the tines. At a tiny fleck of dried sauce. At the reality that a sentence like that doesn't come out of nowhere. Not unless it's been rehearsed in her head 1,000 times. She didn't blink. She just went back to scrolling. Like she'd just told me we were out of laundry detergent or the dog puked on the rug again. That's how little it meant to her. That's how much it meant to me. And the worst part? I agreed with her. I sat there, a 37-year-old man who irons his socks, who cleans the baseboards without being asked, who sends "hope your day's going okay" texts to someone who hasn't replied to one in 3 days. And I thought, maybe she's right. Maybe I don't deserve affection. Maybe I'm just a chore to love. That night, I didn't say anything. I didn't ask what she meant. I didn't demand clarity or fight for an apology. Instead, I did the dishes, took out the trash, fed the cat. All my usual silent performances of being the good husband. But something small inside me died. Not in some dramatic, tearful way, but quietly. Like the sound a candle makes when it runs out of wick. And I knew, in that silence, that she wasn't just done loving me. She was already loving someone else. That night, she didn't sleep beside me. She said it was because her back hurt and the mattress was too soft. I offered to switch sides. She said no. Said she needed space to stretch. So she grabbed her pillow and her blanket, the quilt I bought her last Christmas with the hand-stitched stars, and moved to the couch like I was contagious. I laid there in the dark, listening to the soft buzz of her phone lighting up every 10 minutes. Not just once. Not twice. 5 times in 1 hour. And each time, she would reach for it with the kind of urgency you only show when you're waiting for something or someone. I used to believe I wasn't the jealous type. But jealousy is like rust. You don't notice it right away, not until it's already eaten through the frame of what you thought was solid. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened. She asked if we had any almond milk. I said no. She didn't ask why I hadn't bought any. She just grabbed her keys and said she'd pick some up after yoga. Her eyes never met mine. Not once. I watched her leave in that black zip-up hoodie she always said she hated, but now wore 3 times a week. I watched the way her posture changed when she thought no one was looking. Hips looser, smile freer, shoulders relaxed in a way I hadn't seen in years. Not around me, at least. I knew I had 2 options. Keep pretending I was blind, or start seeing the truth. So I did something I hadn't done in years. I followed her. I didn't mean to, not really. But something inside me snapped when she blew past the yoga studio without even slowing down. I trailed her. Not close, not obvious. All the way to a quiet side street near downtown. She pulled into a driveway I didn't recognize, parked, and walked straight inside like she lived there. No hesitation. No knock. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I told myself maybe it was her friend's place. Maybe she forgot something. Maybe she was picking something up. Maybe. But I stayed. 10 minutes. 15. 27. At exactly the 33-minute mark, my phone buzzed. A message from Hazel. Class ran long. Might be late. Don't wait up, Red Heart. That was when I knew. She wasn't stretching her back on the couch last night. She wasn't sipping almond milk after yoga. She was stretching out lies and sipping someone else's affection. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't drive home and break things. I just sat there, engine off, watching her shadow move past the second-floor window of a house I'd never entered. She had moved on, but she hadn't moved out. Not yet. And the worst part? I still wasn't sure if I wanted her gone, or if I wanted her to beg to stay. I didn't confront her that night. I could have. I had every reason to. But something in me. I don't know. It wasn't rage. It wasn't even sadness. It was curiosity. Sick, heavy curiosity. I wanted to know how long she thought she could keep lying to my face. I wanted to watch her do it. I wanted to see what she looked like while she pretended. She came home around 7:40 p.m. Her hair was wet. Not from sweat. Washed. Her skin had that glow she used to get after long baths. And she smelled different. Not like yoga mats and eucalyptus spray. Like soap that wasn't ours. cologne that didn't belong to me. She gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, which I hadn't gotten in weeks, by the way, and said, "Class was intense today. My legs are shot." I didn't respond, just smiled and nodded like an idiot, pretending I didn't already know she hadn't even driven past the yoga studio. Pretending I didn't sit in my car for 45 minutes outside some other man's house, watching her silhouette move from window to window like it belonged there. Over the next few days, I started documenting everything. Her schedule, her excuses, the sudden change in her tone, the way she'd go silent mid-conversation and smile at nothing, like her mind had wandered somewhere far away, somewhere warm, somewhere I wasn't invited. I noticed how she started putting a passcode on her phone again, how she'd bring it to the bathroom, keep it face down during dinner, never left it charging in the living room like she used to. I even tested it once. Picked it up while she was out. Instantly locked. 10 failed passcodes would wipe it clean. I didn't try a single one. I wanted evidence, not erasure. Then came the Thursday that changed everything. She said she was going to a wine-and-paint class with her friend Loretta. Funny, because Loretta had posted a photo on Facebook that morning from the airport. She was in Miami for a bachelorette weekend. I asked, "Oh, with Loretta?" just to see her flinch. She blinked once. Swallowed. "Yeah, Loretta. And a couple of her co-workers." And there it was. That pause. That half-second of recalculating her lie. My stomach twisted, but I kept my face blank. "Cool," I said. "Have fun." That night, she came home later than usual. Buzzed. Lipstick smudged. Hair tousled in a way that didn't scream painting class. She dropped her purse by the door, slipped off her heels, and collapsed on the couch like she'd just come back from war. Then she said something I'll never forget. "You're always just here. Like, reliable. That's kind of sweet." Sweet. Like a dog. Like a pair of socks that always shows up in the drawer no matter how many times you ignore laundry day. And that's when I made my decision. No fights. No accusations. I would build something better than revenge. I would build proof. Because if she wanted to treat me like I was invisible, then I'd become exactly that. Silent, unnoticed, and watching. I don't believe in luck. But sometimes, you don't need it. Sometimes, people hand you the knife they'll be cut with. All you have to do is wait. It happened on a Saturday. She was in a rush that morning, bouncing around the kitchen like she had somewhere to be but didn't want to admit it. She kept checking the time, opening drawers she never used, pretending to look for a charger she wasn't missing. I just stood there by the sink with my coffee, watching the theater of it all, how far she was willing to go to avoid saying the one simple word, him. She said she was meeting Marla for brunch. I nodded. Marla, who had moved to Seattle 6 months ago. But sure, brunch. And that's when she made her first real mistake. She left her purse. Not just left it, forgot it. Her phone was in her pocket, keys in her hand, sunglasses on her head. But the purse, that beige leather tote she never went anywhere without, sat there on the hallway bench like it knew something I didn't. I stared at it for 5 whole minutes. My hands were shaking when I finally picked it up. Not because I was scared of what I'd find, but because I already knew. And once you open that bag, once you cross that line, there's no going back to pretending. No more maybes. No more benefit of the doubt. Inside were the usual things: gum, receipts, tampons, half a protein bar. But tucked into the inside zipper, a folded piece of paper. At first I thought it was just a grocery list. But then I unfolded it. It was a note, written in her handwriting, on hotel stationery. Room 208. After 2 p.m. I'll bring the wine this time. Let's not talk. Just feel. I must have read it 10 times. I held it like it was radioactive, like it might burn through my skin if I looked at it too long. My mouth went dry. I sat on the stairs for over an hour, note in hand, just frozen. She didn't come back for the purse. Not for hours. When she finally did, she stormed through the door like a storm pretending to be sunlight. Oh my God, I'm such an idiot, I left my. And then she saw me, sitting there, purse in my lap. The note laid gently beside me like a crime scene exhibit. She stopped mid-sentence. I didn't say anything. I just looked at her. She blinked. Once. Twice. Her eyes went glassy, then sharp, then soft again, like she was cycling through which mask to wear. Apology? Denial? Anger? She chose confusion. "What is that?" she asked, pointing like she didn't recognize her own handwriting. I didn't move. "You tell me." She picked it up slowly, like maybe if she held it the right way, it wouldn't be what it was. I mean, This isn't what it looks like. I laughed. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I finally understood what she thought of me. That I was still that quiet, spineless man who would hear this and still apologize for reading it. She tried again. It's not recent. I wrote that a long time ago. I didn't even need to check the hotel's date stamp. The receipt in the purse, from that hotel's minibar, was from that morning. Are you in love with him? I asked. She didn't answer. And in that silence, I got my answer. But I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. I had already done all that alone, in private, in 1,000 invisible ways she never noticed. What I needed now wasn't drama. It was strategy. So I handed the note back to her, stood up, and said the calmest thing I've ever said in my life. Thank you. You've just made everything a lot easier. Then I walked out, not from the house, from the role I had been playing. Because if she wanted a life without my affection, my love, or my loyalty, she was about to get a lot more than she bargained for. She followed me upstairs like she still had the right, like she hadn't just shattered every last excuse she'd been hiding behind. She kept saying my name like it would anchor me. Ellison, wait. Please. I didn't mean, Ellison, let's just talk. But I didn't stop. I didn't turn. I just walked into our bedroom, shut the door behind me, and locked it. Not because I was scared of her, but because I needed a space where I could finally breathe without choking on her lies. I sat on the floor for hours, my back against the dresser, my mind spinning. I looked at the closet. Her side was bursting, overflowing with dresses and heels and coats she never wore unless she was out late. My side, 2 worn suits, 5 shirts, 1 pair of shoes she once called adorably pathetic. How long had I been shrinking to make room for her? She knocked. Once. Then again. Ellison, we can fix this. Fix. That word. Like I was a broken appliance. I didn't open the door. I didn't speak. I just picked up my phone and opened a folder I had created 2 weeks ago. It was called Odd Behavior, H. Inside were time-stamped notes, photos, even screenshots of her calendar lies and social media contradictions. I had audio, short clips of her calls that were just her pacing alone on the porch, pretending. I wasn't proud of the spying, but I was done being blind. I sent everything to myself, uploaded it to cloud storage, password protected it, created a second folder labeled Legal Contingency. I wasn't sure what I'd need yet, but I knew something was coming, and I was done being unprepared. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. She made coffee, hummed in the kitchen, asked if I wanted breakfast. I stared at her like I was watching someone audition for a part they no longer owned. You're being dramatic, she finally said when I didn't respond. You went through my purse. Do you know how invasive that is? That was her focus. Not the note, not the affair, but my reaction. I nodded. You're right, I said. I invaded your privacy. She blinked, surprised that I agreed so easily, that I sounded so calm. But I wasn't calm. I was just finished. There's a difference. She looked relieved for a second, maybe even proud of herself, like she'd dodged something. She even leaned over and touched my hand like we were back in year 1, like it was still her choice what happened next. That's when I said it. I'm seeing someone next week. She froze. What? A lawyer? Her face changed so fast, it was almost comical. The casual smile, the fake sweetness, gone. Her voice sharpened like a broken bottle. You're seriously going to lawyer up? Over what, Ellison? A note? A guess? You don't even know what you saw. I stood up slowly, walked to the dining room table, picked up the envelope I had prepared the night before, placed it down gently in front of her. Inside, a printed version of the photos, the note, and her GPS location data from my phone tracker app, the one she agreed to use for safety last year and then forgot existed. She didn't touch the envelope. She didn't open it. She just looked up at me like she finally realized something. She wasn't the one holding all the cards anymore, and I wasn't the man she could guilt into silence. Not this time. She sat back in the chair, silent, as if the floor had shifted under her feet. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt taller. Because her affair wasn't the end of something. It was the beginning of me becoming someone she couldn't manipulate. And that terrified her. She didn't open the envelope. She just sat there, eyes darting between it and me, as if hoping it would vanish. But the silence was different now. Heavier. There was no more pretending. No more power in her smirk. She had spent so long betting on my inaction that the reality of my quiet strength made her visibly uncomfortable. You know, she finally said, her voice slower, more calculated. Most men wouldn't go digging through their wife's things unless they were insecure. Is that what this is? Insecurity? That's how far she had to reach. That was her angle. Not the cheating. Not the betrayal. Just me being insecure. I didn't flinch. I didn't argue. I simply said, I've got nothing left to be insecure about. I already lost you. Now I'm just deciding what parts of my life I'm taking back. And I meant that. I wasn't trying to win her anymore. I wasn't even trying to make her feel bad. I had done that dance. What I wanted now was truth. And if she wouldn't speak it, I'd let the evidence do the talking, not just to her, but to everyone who thought we were this picture-perfect couple. That night, she tried the soft route. She came into the bedroom in one of those old t-shirts she used to wear when we first moved in together. No makeup, hair tied up, voice small. I miss how we used to be, she whispered from the doorway. I didn't mean for things to get this bad. I looked at her and saw nothing but strategy. A new mask. A new attempt to reset the narrative before things spun further out of her control. But I didn't take the bait. Instead, I pulled out the flash drive I had prepared earlier that day and handed it to her. She hesitated, but eventually took it. What is this? She asked. A copy of the photos, texts, voice memos. The note. Everything. Her breath caught. You made backups? I made peace, I said, keeping my eyes on her. Now I'm making boundaries. She stared at it like it was a live grenade. Why would you give me this? Because I want you to know I'm not here to scream or break things. I'm here to let you decide how loud this gets. I'm not threatening you. I'm just done protecting you. That landed. Hard. Her face cracked for the first time, not out of guilt, but fear. Not because she thought she'd lose me, but because she finally understood she'd already lost the version of me who would have let this go quietly. The next morning, she didn't go to yoga. She stayed home, sitting on the couch, scrolling her phone in silence. She barely looked at me, not because she was sorry, but because she was recalculating. I went about my day normally. Showered, made eggs, fed the cat. But before I left for work, I printed out 3 photos. Just 3. No captions. No threats. I slipped one into her favorite novel on the bookshelf, one into her coat pocket, and one inside the vanity drawer in our bathroom. I wanted her to know something simple and terrifying. I could see everything now. She messaged me later. Just 3 words. Can we talk? I didn't respond. Because this wasn't about talking anymore. It was about watching what she would do next. Now that lying wasn't so easy. Now that I was no longer looking away. By day 3 of silence, something in her cracked. I could feel it. The weight of uncertainty was starting to press down on her. The woman who once carried herself like nothing could touch her now walked like someone expecting the ground to collapse. She jumped when her phone buzzed. She checked my expressions like she was trying to read a language she never bothered to learn. And she kept trying to corner me into a conversation I didn't know her anymore. Then came the offer. It was a Sunday evening. She came into the room while I was folding laundry, of all things. She stood there like she was delivering a confession, but her tone, it was rehearsed. Calculated. Like a speech she'd practiced in the mirror. I think we should reset, she said. I didn't respond. I made mistakes, Ellison. But we can heal. I've been reading about relationship renewal. You know, forgiveness, reconnection. We could even go on a trip. Just us. Disconnect from everything. Rebuild. A vacation. A reset. Like that's all it took to glue back a shattered mirror. I asked, slowly, without looking up, is he coming with us? She didn't laugh. Didn't deny. She just stared. I ended it, she finally said, voice soft. It wasn't real. Was it real in the hotel room? In the car? Or in the gallery bathroom? Because I have photos of all 3. That hit harder than she expected. She sat down on the edge of the bed, suddenly fragile. I was lost, she said. But you weren't really present either, Ellison. You drifted too. We stopped trying. And there it was, the classic flip. If she couldn't control the facts, she'd rewrite the story. Turn betrayal into mutual collapse. Make me responsible for her decisions. But I was ready for it. You're right, I said. We both stopped. You stopped being honest. I stopped asking why you never looked me in the eye anymore. But I never stopped being loyal. Her face twitched. She hated when I spoke without raising my voice. Hated when I didn't react the way she needed me to, with anger or desperation. She couldn't play the victim if I wasn't the aggressor. Then she pulled her final card. Okay, she whispered. Then let's go to counseling. I'll do whatever it takes. Please. Just don't leave me. Not please forgive me. Not I love you. Just don't leave me. That's when I understood something I should have seen months ago. She didn't love me. She loved what I gave her. Stability. Silence. An image. The loyal husband she could mold to cover the cracks in her life. But now I was done playing filler in her story. I already left you, I said calmly. You just didn't notice when I did. Her breath caught. And counseling? I continued. Sure. Let's go. I'd love to hear you explain to a professional how you slipped out of my bed and into someone else's arms for 6 months while calling it confusion. She looked like she wanted to scream. Instead, she stormed out, slamming the door behind her so hard the frame shook. I didn't chase her. I didn't need to. Because this wasn't about whether she could convince me anymore. This was about what happened when I stopped trying to hold together the life she had already walked out of. And the next step? She wasn't ready for it. Not even close. She didn't come home that night. I don't know where she went, and I didn't care enough to ask. I didn't text. Didn't check her location. I spent the evening doing something I hadn't done in years, sitting on the back porch with a cold drink, just listening to the wind and letting my heart slow down. For the first time in forever, I wasn't waiting for an apology. I wasn't rehearsing what I'd say. I wasn't hoping she'd change. I was done. The next morning, she came in around 10 a.m., looking like she hadn't slept. Her voice was soft. Ellison, can we talk? I nodded. Not because I wanted to hear her excuses again, but because I was ready to speak my truth. I've contacted a lawyer, I said. The paperwork started. You'll be served by next week. This house is in my name. I'm not throwing you out, but you'll need to make arrangements. I'll stay at a hotel until you're moved out. She stared at me like I'd slapped her. Wait, you're really doing this? I already did. She sat down hard. Her whole face crumpled. I never thought you'd actually leave me. That line said everything. Not I'm sorry, not I made a mistake, but I didn't think you'd have the spine to walk away. That's what hurt the most. Not the cheating, not the lies, but the fact that she counted on my silence to protect her from consequences. I stood up, grabbed my weekend bag, and turned to leave. At the door, I said one final thing, soft but firm. You told me I didn't deserve your affection, but I finally believe I do. I just won't beg for it anymore. She didn't follow me. She didn't try to stop me, because somewhere deep down, she knew the part of me that once would have stayed no matter what didn't exist anymore. Over the next few weeks, everything moved faster than I expected. The divorce was quiet, clean. No kids. No property fights. I gave her the car. I didn't want it. Too many memories of her lipstick on the passenger window. She cried in court. Told the judge she still loved me. I didn't flinch. Then came the healing part one didn't see coming. I started going out again. Nothing crazy. Just walks, little cafes, bookstores. I even joined a local photography group, something I always wanted to do but never did because she thought it was a waste of time. I bought a camera. I started seeing beauty again, one frame at a time. Started talking to people again, not flinching at the idea of being seen. And eventually, I met someone. Not in some dramatic, rom-com way. Just small talk. Same coffee shop, same awkward smile, same sarcasm about overpriced muffins. Her name's June. She talks with her hands, laughs from her stomach, and asks real questions that make me feel like I matter. But more than anything, she listens. And I realized, loyalty isn't about staying quiet when someone disrespects you. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone bargain it down. Hazel sent me a message recently. Just one line. I miss the way you used to look at me. I didn't reply. Not because I was bitter, but because the man who used to look at her that way no longer exists. I gave everything I had to someone who didn't value it. But I survived. I rebuilt. I found peace, and eventually, love, on my own terms. So no, I didn't deserve her affection. I deserved so much more.